Welcome back, golfers. If you are struggling with how to structure your short game practice, today I'm going to show you my top 3 practice games to help you improve your short game in every single area. Okay, so what do we need to be good at around the greens? We need to be good at being able to carry the ball certain distances relative to the club we've got in our hands and where the pin is. We need to have the ability to be able to speed the golf ball up and slow it down. And we also need to have the ability to be able to change the height of the golf ball ever so slightly. Okay, so being able to launch it slightly higher, being able to launch it slightly lower, again, to give different characteristics of the ball. Now, I'm going to go through 3 different games that are going to cover each of those and how you can practice it to really structure your short game practice so you're covering these 3 areas to make sure you're getting the best out of the practice. Firstly, we're going to look at simply carry distances, okay? We are going to do this with the same club for this one. So my typical wedge I would use mostly around the greens is my 56 degree. I think everyone will have their own favourite. Now, it doesn't matter what it is, just pick kind of midway in your wedge setup, okay? And then simply what I'm going to do is just work my way up these cones and try and land the golf ball in different points. So I'm going to go literally on the cone where possible, so not looking to go in between, and try and land it on the cone and just work my way up this ladder, and then we can start to work our way back. Now, I'm not looking at outcome of golf ball here in terms of how much it rolls or where it rolls. This practice is simply to get better at carrying it different distances with the same clubs. We're learning to adapt stroke length, speed, things like that to obviously give different length of shot, okay? So we'll start short, we'll start with the first one, and like I said, just what I would call my standard kind of shot, just learning to try and carry it on the first cone. A fraction short, and I'd probably give myself a little bit of a tolerance here of a couple of feet either side of the cone, right? That'd be more than acceptable. I'm trying to get down a little bit closer if I can. There we go. It's pretty much on the cone again. Not looking at the outcome overly, just more where the ball lands. So I'm going to move on to the second one now. How I then have to adapt to start to get the golf ball to go a little bit further. That was nice, really good. So I can move through to the first one, and you'll just start to feel what it is you do as an individual, what you need to do to get the ball to carry further. Like I said, there's obviously an outcome to this, right? When you're on the golf course, we're going to look at where the ball's finishing, but this is solely for carry distance purposes to help develop some feel. Fraction short of that third one. So I'm going to work through that again. Didn't quite strike it either. Yep, happy with that. So as I'm working through, what I feel here is that obviously some little things like my swing length is going to start to change. Okay, then that's going to start to develop more speed through the ball. The motion generally starts to lengthen out more. And I'm trying to keep everything like a mid-flight as well. So again, like I said, my standard kind of chip shot. A bit too hard. I've probably gone to the, yep, I was a bit more towards the back one. Rein that back a little bit. Okay, on the number, last one. Didn't quite catch that. Good for the second one again. See if we can get that one back there. Now what you might find is this, by the way, you start to find an area that you're not as comfortable with, and that's totally fine. You just then look at that and go, well, okay, is the club choice wrong over time, or just genuinely do you just need to practice that area a little bit more, right? So for me, obviously this longer tour proving a bit more difficult. There you go, that's pretty good. I hit one more. It looked like it's a touch long from this angle, so I'm just gonna hit one more just for the sake of this video. Come on the cone. That's pretty good. There we go. There we go. Okay. So just on that note, if I'm struggling in an area, I would start to look at, is it the right shot? Or again, do I just need to practice more with that distance? Now, all being equal, if I'm trying to land it on that back pin, I'm more than likely hitting more of a short-sided chip shot. So I probably do just need to actually get better at hitting this club that distance. Typically, you're not going to be landing it that far if the ball's going to be releasing and running on, okay? So then what I'd do after that is you just start to work backwards. Just start to work your way back down. So we'll just quickly run through that and work our way back again. Well, that was a rubbish strike. Landed where I wanted to, but that wasn't what I was looking for. I'll get lucky with that one. That's one of those good bad ones. There we go, that was lovely. Pretty much on it. Let's see if I can work back this way pretty quickly. And you can start to, this is a good one to play with your mates. You can have a little bit of competition, who can get up the ladder and down the ladder the quickest. You can put a point system to it. Whatever you need to do. It's quite a good fun practice, but just developing, that was awful, developing some feel to carrying at different distances. Right, let's just focus here. Yep. Come back down again. You can even start to mix it around if you want. Go long one, short one, long one, short one. Do whatever you need to do. Yep. Yeah, this mid-range is kind of like where my eyes, I can see the carry with a 56 to here into this mid-range. I like this better. Fraction short, so we'll do that one again. Yep. And shortest one again. On it. Okay. Really simple idea to help you develop some feel and control the carry distances in and around the green. Again, I would do this exercise with the same club, so you learn what it is, what you've got to do with your motion to get the golf ball to carry different distances, but also to highlight which one you might need a bit more work on, and then how you can then start to adapt where needed, okay? Right, now we're going to talk about changing the speed of the golf ball. So speeding the golf ball up and slowing the golf ball down. And the easiest ways for you to do that and how we can implement this into your practice schedule. So speeding the golf ball up and slowing it down. A very, very important skill to have around the greens. We need to vary that a lot. We need to either chase one up there, or we need to land one a little bit softer and it stops up quicker. We might have more rough to carry where we need the golf ball to stop quicker. Again, or we've got two-tier greens and slopes. We need the ball to be quicker as it gets up those slopes. So easiest way to do that, change club, okay? Always a bias of mine. Change club, change the tool is the easiest way of changing the ball flight characteristics. A 9-iron, all being equal, is going to come off with more ball speed and more roll than a 56 is. This is going to come off with less ball speed and it's going to roll out less. So in this practice drill, we're now going to be hitting to the same flag, but with 3 different clubs, landing it at different points to manage the rollout relative to that club and where it needs to land. Now, I have just calibrated this real quick, so I know that's where my 9-iron needs to land, where my 50 needs to land, and where my 56 needs to land to get close to this pin. But when you first set this up, you're probably going to have to calibrate it yourself, hit some shots, understand where each one of these need to land relative to the flag, okay? And then you start to obviously understand your own game, and obviously depending on what clubs you like to use around the green. So I've just gone for the 3 that I typically use the most when I'm chipping around the green, okay? So we're going to start with 9-iron now. Now this, I'm going to be trying to hit this towards the shortest cone, and it's obviously going to roll out the most. It's got the most ball speed. So this is going to expect to see this lower, and I'm going to expect to see it running out more. Okay, so this will be landing on that first one and releasing up the green towards the pin. Oh, go in. Oh, but that's pretty good. Told you I calibrated it. So straight on there, up the hill, real simple. I'm going to do it again. See if I can actually do that again. Better line. There we go. So I've calibrated that, and all being equal, as long as I make the same type of stroke, I'm going to get that right every single time, okay? We're going to go through into the 50 degree now. 50 degree, perfect. Now, as you're doing this, guys, what you'll find is that there's going to be one area that you're really good at, and there's going to be one area that needs some work, all right? Or what you might also find is, and this is something I see a lot when I'm spending time with people around the greens, I'll ask them what their go-to wedges or what they typically use around the greens. And just for argument's sake, they say, I use my 50 degree all the time. And I do this test with them, and actually sometimes it turns out to be the worst wedge in their bag around the greens. They end up hitting, let's say, a 9-iron better, or even more loft. I see that in a lot of cases. People scare away from lofted clubs, but actually they put their 54 or their 56 in their hands, and it's actually their better club, okay? So be open-minded. Do this test with different clubs. Go from a different range of spectrums here, most loft to somewhere in the middle of the bag, least loft, and just see what comes out for you. Because it's only going to be relative to you and not to me or to anyone else. What works for you. You might be the golfer that's actually really good with lofting their hands, which is fine. So don't be scared of that, all right? But just test it, trial it out, see what you get. 50 degree. Middle cone now. Yep, happy with that. So again, you've got some tolerances here, right? Realistically, you're going to have a couple of feet either side of these cones to play with, okay, and the ball's still going to be good. Now, for me, I set myself more of like a 5-foot radius around the pin. If it's finishing within 5 feet on each of these shots, it's a good shot. If you're landing it on your cone and it's going outside of that 5-foot, 6-foot radius, the landing area is obviously wrong, okay, or you've misstruck the shot. So you need to be present when thinking about that, and if you need to recalibrate and move the cones, then do, okay? 50 degree again. There we are. Okay, now I'm going to move through to 56. Okay, so these are my 3 clubs that I typically chip with around the green, all right? Now, if I was playing this shot on the golf course, I'd probably be leaning towards 9-iron and 50. I actually felt really comfortable with those 2 on this one. I would use my 56 more so than these other clubs, but this scenario where it's a little uphill, nothing in front of me where I've got to use loft, I would be leaning towards those clubs. It would be interesting to see how I get on with the 56, where I probably wouldn't use this as much. But it's obviously got to fly much further now. It's going to be softer, it's going to stop quicker. Okay, let's see what we can do here. Pushed it a little bit, but it was a good distance. Good distance. Again, let's just try not to slice that one. Or duff it. So here we go, this is interesting, right? You start to see where things are more comfortable, where things need a bit of work, right? So I did say that I wouldn't feel as comfortable hitting 56 to this type of pin, and very quickly from this test, it's proven that, right? So I'd be silly to hit many of these shots around a green when I don't need to. The time where I might need to is when I've got thick rough running to that second cone. Then I have no choice. I've got to fly it further. I've got to slow the ball down because it needs to land closer to the pin and stop a little bit quicker. So there are scenarios where I'm forced to. So it's not saying that don't ever play this shot. What that's telling me is I need to get better at that shot for when I need it. But if I don't need it, I've got 2 other options that are clearly better for me, right? Let's see if I can actually get one. It's better on the pin. Oh, kind of made up for it. But there we go. But if you're looking at a dispersion and an average of all of those, you know, quite clearly if I chose my 56 more than the other 2, I'm probably not going to get up and down as much or give myself tap-ins as much as I would do with those 2 clubs. It's a really good test and calibration for you guys to do. Find out, again, what works for you, not necessarily what your mate does or what anyone else does. Pick your own wedges, pick your own clubs, hit these shots, experiment, and then start to see what your superpower is around the green, but also then what the areas that just need that little bit of work. Finally, changing trajectory. We do need to be able to change the height of the golf ball around the greens. We will find ourselves in scenarios like this where we've got a little bit of a runoff and we're now all of a sudden below where the green sits. So we've got to create some softness and some height to allow this golf ball to land softly and not release too much, especially in a short-sided scenario. Anything coming in too flat is going to obviously hit the deck at a lower angle and it's going to run on much, much more, okay? My first rule here, guess what? Change club. If you have the ability to, go to more loft. Again, very simply, you don't have to do anything different, but if you change the loft of your club, that's going to produce a higher, softer golf shot, okay? So if I'm going to hit a couple for you now where I'm going to hit, let's say a 50 degree, right? We're just going to go to like a mid wedge, 50 degree, and I'm just going to show you two standard shots with a 50 and one with a 56, where, if I play my stock shot here with a 50, relative to the height of the green, it's going to come out quite low and it's going to release on too much for me, okay? So it's just going to chase on a little bit and I'm not going to be able to stop it quick enough. If I now do, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go to the other extreme. I'm actually going to go to 60. Okay, so I do have a 60 degree in my bag, which I'm fine with using. I don't mind using when I have to. Okay, and I'm just going to play again a stock shot with this, and you're going to see the launch angle change and obviously the roll out on the golf ball change. So anything different, and you can see how much higher and then softer that golf ball lands, okay? So in these scenarios, I need to be able to use my loft to be able to stop the ball quick enough. Because I think when people get on these runoff areas, I do see quite a lot of people default to really low lofts, like 9 irons, pitching wedges, 50 degrees, and try and almost bump it up the bank, which I think can work, but your landing area is so small, right? If you miss the bank and you fly it onto the front of the green like I did with that first shot, it's just going to run on. If you underhit it slightly and it hits the base of the bank, right, you start to hit into here, well, then that golf ball is just going to stop, especially if it's a little bit softer in and around the greens, coming into winter times, or if the green gives have watered the golf courses. Anything soft here is just going to stop, right? So your landing area becomes so small on the top there, and room for error is just non-existent. Whereas if you've got loft, or you're able to change club and use more loft here, my landing area is actually huge, because I can land this golf ball now anywhere between the front edge of the green and pin high, and it's still going to be within 10 feet. Okay? If I land it pin high, because of the height and the trajectory of the golf ball coming down softer, it's not going to release on that much. It's going to go 5, 6, 7 foot past, which is a good shot in these scenarios. If I pop it up and land it on the front really nicely, like I did that last one actually, if I land it there on the front, it's going to stop quick enough, it's going to be good, okay? So my landing area now is like 10 to 15 feet, not really small with the lower lofts, okay? So don't fear changing clubs in this scenario. We need it to be able to produce more loft to stop the golf ball a little bit quicker, all right? Now, there is another solution to this. So if you're watching this thinking, I really hate using my 60 degree or my most lofted wedge, I just can't do it, it just gives me anxiety when I'm standing over it. First is obviously some things we could do there from a technical point of view to help with your contact, but there is something else we can do, all right? You've also got opening the club face, okay? So I'm now going to go into my 56 degree, which would be like my more mid wedge, okay? And I'm now going to set up to this, and I'm going to open the club face more, right? So I'm using my favorite wedge, or most comfortable wedge in and around this area, and I'm just spinning the face open a little bit, okay? That is now going to give me more loft. So very quickly I can start to do things from a base perspective, firstly changing club, and secondly just opening the club face. That is, all being equal, going to promote higher trajectories and softer land angles, okay? So what I'm going to play here now for you is going to be 2 shots from my 56, one with a straight face and one with an open face, so you can see the difference in the trajectory and then obviously the rollouts as a result, okay? So we're going to go stock straight face, all right? Now I'd probably expect this to stop relatively quick enough, but I might not be able to stop it on the pin. So this is going to be a little bit of a lower shot that's still, yeah, you can see it's still going to chase up, right? It just comes in too flat relative to the slope. Now I'm going to do exactly the same technique, but I'm just going to spin the face open at address, okay? Same thing, face open. I've now given the club more loft, we should see this launch a bit higher and stop a little bit quicker. Yeah, so much higher, so much quicker. All right, so I've got the same club there, but just by changing the face angle, that gives it that complete different change in trajectory. Okay, so 2 solutions there for you to change the height and the softness of the golf ball. As always, the theme here is change club. All right, use the clubs first, and then when we need to start to add some height in different ways, or if you just don't like using your most lofted club, go to mid wedge and just simply spin the face open. There we are. 3 ways you can really improve your short game practice. Learning how to carry the ball different distances, learning how to slow the ball down and speed the golf ball up, and also changing the height and trajectory of the golf ball. Any of that helps you guys, please drop me a comment below, let me know. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. And as always, guys, really appreciate your support. Please subscribe to the channel, and it helps me create more content to help you guys lower your scores.